Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys. Sunday, May 10th, Ian Cameron with you. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. I know Alex is back home in Chicago with his mother on this Mother's Day. We hope all of you have a good Mother's Day out there watching and listening. Appreciate you guys and all the mothers out there for what they do. I know there's a lot of hockey moms in the world, and boy, do they sacrifice for their players, for their boys. Especially those that make it into the NHL. I mean, all those early drives to the rink for practices, for games, all the money that parents dole out for put their kids into hockey. It's not a cheap sport to play. So yeah, the mothers do a lot, and on this Mother's Day, it's always great to be able to recognize them in everything they do. We're going to recognize the Carolina Hurricanes in everything they do. They have been absolutely remarkable here in the Stanley Cup playoffs. 8-0. 2 sweeps in a row to begin the playoffs, and they put the finishing touches on a 4-game sweep of the Philadelphia Flyers yesterday with a 3-2 overtime victory. Of course, frustrating for me because the one thing I said I was not convinced we were going to see was a Carolina 1-goal victory, and unfortunately we got a Carolina 1-goal victory, so we don't hit the puck line with the Carolina Hurricanes there. But hats off to Carolina. Great job by them. We do hit a bargain bin special here in this game with Jackson Blake. What a game from him. He gets 2 goals and an assist, 3 points, including the game winner in overtime. Just a terrific performance. I'm a little upset he got the overtime winner because that meant he tied Logan Stankoven for the lead in goals in the series, and that means we didn't get as much of a payout with that as we would have liked on Logan Stankoven to lead the series in goals, but we still got something out of it. But still, great job by Carolina. They were just the better team, superior team start to finish in that series. And Philadelphia, though, I'll tell you what, they didn't lay down. I was impressed with the effort. Now, they were heavily outshot, and they had to rely on Dan Vladar keeping that game afloat for as long as he was able to. But, they were just outmanned, and there was definitely, Rick Tocchet alluded to, a lot of players. Now, everybody's dealing with injuries at this time of year. It's not like Philly's any different from anyone else, but there's no question that they had all kinds of issues for sure. The Philadelphia Flyers in this series. And Freddie Anderson, what can we say? Great performance in net. Now, he does have a great defense in front of him. There's no question about that. But at the same point in time, you got to give him a lot of the credit for this 8-0 start. This is a guy that wasn't any good in the regular season, way below serviceable, way below average as a goaltender. But for him to play the way he has here in these playoffs, you give him credit. And like I said, boy, Carolina, and there's a lot of people starting to still at this point, with everything Carolina's done, saying, well, you know what, they've been great, but there's no buts, okay? This is a great hockey team. Let's give them a little credit. I'm still seeing people say, well, they took on Ottawa and Philadelphia. Wait till they face Buffalo or Montreal. I agree with that to an extent. It's going to be a tougher series, I think, for Carolina than Buffalo or Montreal. But if you're trying to say that, they can't beat Buffalo and Montreal, that's a bunch of nonsense. This is a team that just defends very well. They're structured. They are a 5-man unit in all 3 zones. Obviously, they've got really 2 top lines now when you consider, Aho, Svechnikov, and Jarvis has, for the most part, been their top line this year, but Hall, Stankoven, and Blake continue to play like a top line for Carolina. So, like I said, I don't want to go crazy talking about, Ottawa, Philly are a weaker, they went through the weaker side of the bracket. The people are saying that, the Metro, but I don't buy that. I think there's a dangerous team. I think we need to talk about Buffalo and Montreal having their hands full with Carolina, not the other way around, personally, especially because Buffalo and Montreal look primed and poised to put each other through the ringer here in their second round series. But like I said, great job by the Carolina Hurricanes, the way they defend, the way they pressure the puck all over the ice. It's really impressive. And on to the Eastern Conference Final once again. And how about this holy layoff? Unbelievably, they are out of their series against Philadelphia, finishing that off in a sweep before Buffalo and Montreal, their next opponent, whoever it is coming out of that series, before that series even gets to Game 3, which will be played tonight, of course, in Montreal. So they might as well book Cancun or Puerto Vallarta or freaking the Caribbean. Whatever you want to, whatever you can do, come up with as a destination for a 3, 4, 5 day team vacation. Why not do it? You're going to have time to do it and get back in plenty of time before the Eastern Conference Final starts. So it is definitely, like I said, going to be a long layoff here we're talking 10, 11 days it could be before the Carolina Hurricanes play their next game. So it'll be interesting to see, like I said, how long the layoff is, how long Buffalo Montreal goes, and like I said, how Carolina plays coming off a even longer layoff than they had following the Ottawa series in the first round. But we did see in game 1 against Philadelphia, there was no rust. There was no, they were ready to go and they were sharp out of the gate. So somehow, some way, after 7 days, they were ready for that game 1 against Philadelphia. So even if it is going to be a long layoff, I don't know if I'm going to fall into that trap again saying, we got to fade Carolina with a 10 or 11 days off. Didn't work, the long layoff angle in game 1 against Philadelphia. Do keep that in mind. The other game last night, let's give Minnesota credit. I didn't see this coming. 5-1 Minnesota. Not like that. I thought without Eriksson Ek and Brodin again, this team was in trouble. But a great job by the Minnesota Wild. I thought Colorado was pretty fucking lousy. Let's call it like we see it. I don't think it was all Minnesota was great. I thought Colorado was pretty darn awful last night from when it was all said and done. Everybody, goalie included, it wasn't one of Wedgwood's better games. He got pulled, and Mackenzie Blackwood finished that game. But it was just not a sharp game for Colorado. But it was a great game for Minnesota. Don't take too much of the credit away from them. They were solid. They were opportunistic. Their power play was outstanding. Now, again, a lot of their damage was done on the power play. 5-on-5 even strength offense. We're going to have to wait and see. They got to still improve a little bit on that, Minnesota. But Jesper Wallstedt back in net, which none of us had a doubt that he would start last night. And he was outstanding. Absolutely terrific. Stopped 35 of 36 Colorado shots, 35 saves for Jesper Wallstedt last night in that victory. He was on top of it. Like I said, the fact that, again, Minnesota, two power play goals for them last night. Actually, they had 2 power play goals, 2 even strength goals. So, it wasn't as lopsided as far as the power play even strength goal scoring for them as I thought. But what can you say about Quinn Hughes? I mean, we cashed the bargain bin special with him last night. Once again, a tremendous game. 1 goal, 1 assist. He gets the power play goal for us, plus 500. 2-0 bargain bin special sweep with Jackson Blake and Quinn Hughes yesterday. So, like I said, that was absolutely great to see that. And my thought process with using Quinn Hughes as a bargain bin selection was down 2-0, backs against the wall. You need your best players to step up. Quinn Hughes has done this before. We remember Game 6 against Dallas. With Minnesota looking to close out that series, how well he played. And he played well once again last night for the Minnesota Wild. Absolutely phenomenal. Gets the power play goal to give him a 2-0 lead last night in the first period. And I thought they played, a solid game. I thought Colorado did have the edge in shots, 36-26, but I thought still they defended well. Minnesota, their penalty kill was outstanding for the most part. I mean, McKinnon did get a power play goal, but for the most part, their penalty kill was outstanding. Their 5-on-5 defense at even strength was very solid. And like I said, when they did have chances, Colorado, and they did have some, Jesper Wallstedt was indeed a brick wall last night. He got the Wally chance from the Minnesota Wild faithful at Grand Casino Arena last night. But hats off to Minnesota. Great job. And now, they win that game. They're back in the series. And I wasn't entirely upset Minnesota won last night because if you remember, I bet 6-game, 7-game series before it started. And I'm also on those exact 6-7-game exact series result bets with Colorado 4-2, 4-3, and Minnesota 4-2, 4-3. So my hope is get this to a minimum 6 games. We're going to hit one of the 6-7 games, exact games prop, and we're going to hit one of the exact series results, whether it's Colorado 4-2, 4-3, or Minnesota 4-2, 4-3. So now we got a chance. We've got a realistic chance now to see this series go at least 6 games. So that was the good thing here about seeing Minnesota win that game last night. But well done by them. And everybody, all their best players played well last night. You can't say one player that was in that core of players that Minnesota needs to play well to win this series. Not one of them had a bad game. Kaprizov, great game. 3 points. Quinn Hughes, great game, multi-points. Ryan Hartman, great game. Power play goal for him last night. Brock Faber, terrific game. Quinn Hughes gets a lot of the attention. Brock Faber had a great game last night. A goal and 2 assists, 3 points for him last night. So, like I said, good stuff there from Minnesota. And they're back in the series. And now I think back to that decision of John Hines to start Philip Gustafsson. What if you didn't start Philip Gustafsson in game 2? What if you started Jesper Wallstedt and he played, I'm not going to say, and I'm not going to make it sound like he would have played as well as he did last night, but what if he played like he had most of the playoffs, including the Dallas series? I know game 1 was bad for him, but like I said, I thought it was an overreaction by Hines because the defense was horrible in that game on both sides. How are the goalies going to play well in a game like game 1? So if he doesn't start Gustafsson in game 2 and Wallstedt instead, maybe we're sitting near 2-1 Minnesota right now in this series rather than 2-1 Colorado. So, like I said, that's still, to me, mind-bogglingly stupid what he did with that goalie decision. But like I said, give Wallstedt credit. The one thing it did do is give Wallstedt some time to make some adjustments, look into how to, step up after that bad game 1. And boy, oh boy, he did step up for Minnesota and played very well in victory last night. So 2-1 in that series. And again, game 4 with the Avs and the Wild comes up on Monday night, tomorrow night. So looking forward to that. All right, let's get into today's games. We're going to make this show a little bit shorter. It is Mother's Day after all. That way everyone can get on with the time with their families here today on this Sunday. We'll start with, of course, Buffalo and Montreal. And I can only imagine the atmosphere and the environment inside the Bell Center here tonight for Game 3. Series tied 1-1. We've got Montreal minus 125 home favorites. 5.5 the total in some spots, 6 in some spots as well. So make sure you shop around. This is a split total. Some books have the 5.5 with juice, and some books have the 6. So if you like the under, find a 6. If you like the over, find a 5.5. That's what you should be doing here in this game. 1-1 series. Buffalo took game 1, played very well, maybe caught Montreal a little bit sluggish out of the gate after finishing off Tampa in 7 games. But I thought Buffalo played a very solid game 1. They were more opportunistic. I think Montreal struggled with Buffalo's counterattack, rush game a little bit, realizing, whoa, this team's got a little bit more speed, a little bit more ability to move the puck than the Tampa Bay Lightning. And you could tell it was an adjustment for the Montreal Canadiens in game 1. But adjust they did yesterday in game 2, or Friday night in game 2. It was a dominant performance, really, by Montreal start to finish. They got the early 2-0 lead, and they rolled to a 5-1 victory in Game 2. And really, outside of Zach Benson, I'll give that whole line actually credit. Zach Benson, Josh Doan, Josh Norris, but especially Zach Benson for the Buffalo Sabres. Doan too. Doan had a nice assist on the one goal that Buffalo scored, which was Benson's goal in Game 2. Outside of those two players, it was a rough game for everybody else. I don't think you can name a Buffalo Sabres player that played well outside of Benson and maybe Josh Doan, and goaltender included. That wasn't one of Alex Lyon's better starts in net for the Buffalo Sabres in Game 2. Like, it was a bad game. It was a really, really bad game for Buffalo. Nobody was happy about it. I got the idea listening to some of the quotes, Lindy Ruff, Alex Tuck, certainly Tage Thompson, who was a little ornery after the game when he was asked if he was injured. And I didn't like that response. Seems like a little, a bit of a, childish response, to be honest with you, saying it's not any of your business. You can answer it in a different way. But that's another story. He's got to get better, by the way. Injured or not, he can't be doing what he did in Game 2. You can't be making these egregious turnovers, and they're egregious. I mean, if you're injured and you're playing at less than 100%, the one thing you need to do is manage the puck and don't force things, there's Tage Thompson fumbling pucks inside the blue line, and there he is turning it over, and there he is falling down and stumbling, barely able to stay on his own 2 skates. I mean, you just got to do a little bit better than that, and I know you're probably playing less than 100%. Who the hell isn't playing at less than 100% at this time of year? But at the end of the day, like I said, you've got to be able to park that aside and just be smart. Be smart with your puck management. That's the one thing, even if you're hurt, you can control. Maybe you're going to have a harder time finishing checks and the physical side of it. Maybe you're going to have a hard time sometimes if something's bothering you winning foot races because your speed's diminished a little bit. But the one thing you can do, even if you're playing hurt, which a lot of players are at this time of year in the Stanley Cup playoffs, is you can manage the puck. And that was horrific, horrid, brutal puck management by him in Game 2. And it led to multiple Montreal goals directly off of one of his poor puck management decisions in that game. So he's got to step things up. He knows it, though. He's been around the block. He knows that whole line's got to be better, quite honestly, for the Buffalo Sabres. They had the least expected goal share of the Buffalo Sabres team in Game 2, that top line. The shocker, guess which line for the Buffalo Sabres had the greatest expected goal share in Game 2? Oh, yeah, Benson, Doan. What else is new? What would they do without those guys? Seriously, I mean, they've been so good. I'm not just coming on here to singing praises of Benson and Doan because, I feel like it. It's because when you watch the games, these guys are making it happen and stirring it up every time they're on the ice for Buffalo. They're making it happen. They're getting in on the forecheck. They're physical. They're generating opportunities and scoring chances, and they're a menace in the offensive zone, and they've been that way all series so far for the Buffalo Sabres. We think Tage Thompson's elite. I'm seeing people in the chat saying he's not. You're right. His leadership, I think is a little questionable. He's a great goal scorer. He's got a great shot. He's got to elevate. Injured or not, he's got to be better than he was in Game 2. Simple as that. The whole line. I thought Tuck, Thompson, and Krebs, you couldn't find that line with a telescope the other night. Actually, you could, and they were just making mistakes. That line's got to be better. Zucker, McLeod, and Quinn, I thought they were really good as a line in Game 1, not so much in Game 2. The only line that you can say for Buffalo had two great games. Even in the loss, they had a good game in Game 2, and that's, of course, Benson, Doan, and Norris. That line, I mean, I don't know what they do without that line. They've been outstanding. I don't think Dahlin had a great game in Game 1. That's inexcusable to be beaten on the back check on the Newhook goal in Game 2. That really put it away, 3-0. That's not good. That's terrible, and that's your captain, not half-assing it like that. He's got to step up his effort level here tonight in this one. Meanwhile, like I said, Montreal, Game 1, they struggled. Game 2, they had their adjustments. Cole Caulfield is still snake bit. It's incredible. He got a ton of grade A chances in Game 2. Credit to him. He's at least getting looks. He's getting chances. He's getting opportunities. The puck's just not going in the freaking net for him. It's just incredible at this point. It's just, you have to simply just shake your head at this point that Cole Caulfield still hasn't scored a goal for the Montreal Canadiens. He certainly had a bunch of looks in Game 2. Suzuki and Slavkovsky. Suzuki's actually been, offensively noticeable, but Slavkovsky's tailed off after the red-hot start in the Tampa series. Caulfield's given you not much. Ivan Demidov's given you nothing. You've gotten a little bit, though, from Texier and Josh Anderson early on in the playoffs, and Bolduc, Doc, they've chipped in. But the guy that's been the best forward by far for Montreal in this series is Alex Newhook. And I was reading a good article about why all of a sudden is Alex Newhook becoming this goal-scoring prowess here in these last few games. 3 goals in the last 3 games for him. Well, guess what? They've actually taken away some of his face-off duties and some of his defensive. Not saying he's obviously you still want to be responsible defensively, but Marty St. Louis and the Montreal Canadiens have put him in a more advantageous offensive spot within their lineup, and it's unlocked something here because Alex Newhook has been, it seems like every time he's been on the ice these last few games, he has been dangerous for Montreal, and the results bear that out, and if you look at these last 3 games in particular, 3 goals, he's had 4 shots on goal in each of the 2 games of this series against the Buffalo Sabres. So you're seeing his offensive game coming to the forefront here. It was one of these games where, Jakub Dobiš wasn't at his best in Game 1. He bounced back in Game 2. Alex Lyon, to me, that was one of his weaker games of the playoffs in Game 2. We would expect him to bounce back here tonight. The bottom line is with where I'm going tonight in this game is this is a game that, to me, has a long, competitive, back-and-forth feel to it. Zigzag theory, a punch-counter-punch type of series. We've seen it already. Buffalo in Game 1. Montreal made their adjustments. Montreal was just a little touch hungrier and more urgent, I would say, in Game 2 and tied up the series. And now I think the pendulum swings a little bit here. We got a Buffalo Sabres team that, like Montreal going into Game 2, where we talked about how Montreal had not lost 2 straight playoff games. We have the Buffalo Sabres entering tonight. They have not lost 2 straight playoff games. We've also talked about how Montreal has been a great road team going into Game 2. 3 road wins in Tampa. We could trust them to win big games on the road. We could say the same thing about Buffalo. 3-0 on the road against Boston, a Buffalo team that was very, very good on the road all season long. So we've got, again, Game 2, we backed Montreal because they were on the road where they've been good. They're off a loss where they were undefeated, and they got the job done, Montreal, in Game 2. For me tonight, it's time to go the other way. Buffalo off a loss. Buffalo making the adjustments. Buffalo's the team that's pissed off. Buffalo's the team, like I said, off a loss, undefeated off a loss, on the road where they're 3-0 in the playoffs. I'm going with the Sabres here tonight. Plus 105 in this game. Like Buffalo, first goal, first period, and Buffalo goal in the first period for a little bit of a sprinkle as well. But Buffalo plus 105. And again, 5 to 5.5. I took another over 5.5 here, minus 130. Again, barely got there with Game 2, 6 goals, 5-1. But that's the importance of getting a 5.5 if you like the over here in this game. And it's just really, really simple for me. 2-0 to the over, 5.5 in this series already. And it is now 11-1 in the last 12 meetings between the Habs and Sabres. 11 of the last 12 have had at least 6 goals between the two teams. So, like I said, Buffalo here, I think, has got a chance to bounce back. They're undefeated on the road in the postseason. Now they make their adjustments. And it's not like Montreal. And again, not only is Montreal lost 2 of their 3 home games in the Tampa series. We talked about before this series started how it was a road team-dominated series head-to-head between the Sabres and Canadiens. Montreal won more of the games in Buffalo, and Buffalo won more of the games in Montreal head-to-head between these two teams. So I'm on Buffalo here, plus 105. I think they do have a much better performance, and I think the value's now with them. I definitely think the value side here is win or lose is Buffalo, and that's kind of what you're betting in the playoffs. It's not just who you think's going to win. Obviously, you want to cash your ticket, and I do think Buffalo does win this game. They've been a great bounce-back team and a great road team, but it's also the value in the line. And to me, the value in the line is now shifted to Buffalo. It was with Montreal in Game 2, clearly, because they were been good on the road. They were off a loss, and they were getting a nice plus 110, plus 115 in that game. And now I think the value shifted to the Sabres here in Game 3. So Buffalo plus 105. We'll dabble a little bit less than that. The money line bet is the major bet, but the smaller bets on the Buffalo first goal, first period, and goal in the first period, and also over 5.5, minus 130. As far as props for this game with Sabres and Canadiens, I'm just piling up more prop bets on the best line for Buffalo, and it's not been Tage Thompson and Peyton Krebs and Alex Tuch. It's been Zach Benson, Josh Doan, and Josh Norris. Zach Benson, goal prop, 100%. He scored in 3 of the last 5 games. He got their only goal in Game 2. Definitely like that. I like Alex Newhook for Montreal, plus 450. It's time to recognize he's also been one of the leading players for Montreal in expected goals in this series for the Habs. He's been a threat. He's feeling confident right now. He's scored now in 2 of the last 5 games. He's also plus 450 to get a goal here tonight. As far as point props, Benson, 3 straight games with a point. Josh Doan. Now, what you can do with Benson and Doan, I've talked about how much we've been betting their props. You could either take the point prop or you can take the goal and the assist prop with both of them. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's either you bet the point prop or you bet both the goal and the assist prop with both of them. Josh Anderson, point. I'm going to sprinkle in that at plus 215. He got a point last game. That's something to keep in mind. I'm going to keep back. Now, I used Lane Hudson as a bargain bin. I think it was the other night. I think it was Lane Hudson on Friday in Game 2. He didn't score, but boy, he had some looks, and he is shooting the puck more than I've seen him in the past. So, I definitely don't mind looking in that direction too for a down the board shot with Lane Hudson as far as a goal prop is concerned. Tessier, Bull Duke, Doc are players that have stepped up at times here in the playoffs for this Montreal Canadiens team as well. That's definitely something to keep in mind, no question. But like I said, Nick Suzuki's on a 3-game goal-scoring streak here in the playoffs. That is something to keep in mind as well. I think at this point with Cole Caulfield, I mean, I know there's people that have spent 2, 3, 4 games in a row saying, oh, I'm going to take Cole Caulfield tonight. He's due. He's finally going to get one. Well, now it's at the point where show me at this point. Show me that you're going to get one. Yeah, Bo Byram I like too. Steve in the chat's mentioning Bo Byram. Yeah. Bo Byram, like I said, he had a great game one. I think his offense from the blue line matters, especially if Buffalo's going to win. Him chipping in from the blue line, is going to be very important, I think, for this team, without a doubt, no question. So I like that. I don't mind Jakob Dobish over saves tonight either for Montreal. I think that could go over the total. It did in game 2, even though Montreal was ahead 5-1. So Dobish over saves could be something to consider here as well tonight going into this game. Mike Matheson's gone over 2.5 block shots in 2 straight for Montreal, as has Connor Timmins for Buffalo, over 1.5 shots on goal in 2 straight games. And then shots on goal just overall. I know Jonathan mentioned it. Alex Newhook, yeah. I mean, 4 shots on goal in each of the first 2 games of this series. And you can get a plus price essentially on just over 1.5 shots on goal for Alex Newhook tonight. I mean, take advantage of that. There's been no adjustment to it whatsoever. None. I mean, 4 shots on goal in game 1, 4 shots on goal in game 2. And the guys out there still, Alex Newhook, his shots prop is like 1.5 at plus money. There's no adjustment to this. That's the beauty of looking at player props in this sport. The adjustment's not going to be right away. It never is with this stuff. Never. So you can still get plus price with Alex Newhook over 1.5 shots on goal here tonight. That's cashed in 2 straight. Talked about how Lane Hudson's been shooting the puck more. He's gone over 1.5 shots in both games in this series, as has Noah Dobson on the blue line here for the Montreal Canadiens, over 1.5 shots on goal. Is a reasonable price for him as well. Nick Suzuki's gone over 2.5 shots in 3 straight games. It's a little pricey on Josh Doan, but he's gone over 1.5 shots on goal in 3 straight playoff games. And Rasmus Dahlin, over 2.5 shots on goal for Buffalo in 5 straight playoff games. And you only have to lay about -115, -120 here in this one. So those are all props that I think that I've mentioned here, whether it's shots on goal, goal prop, point prop, you name it, that I think are all interesting here and worth a look. All right, let's go to the second game of tonight's doubleheader. Vegas Golden Knights, Anaheim Ducks. Vegas -120, road favorites. The total here sitting at 6.5 across the board. And of course, now we've got this Vegas Golden Knights team up 2-1 in the series, fresh off obviously a tremendous victory against Anaheim in game 3. It's weird because Anaheim actually had control of the game. They had the better chances, more shots in game 1, but the special teams was just so lopsided in the first period that it just killed Anaheim. It just took them right out of the game. That power play time that they had early, they didn't do anything with it. It was an awful power play again for Anaheim. And then, of course, Vegas gets a shorthanded goal there. And then a power play goal right at the end of the period. And next thing you know, bam, 3-0. You weren't terrible at 5-on-5 even strength, but you were beyond terrible on special teams. And you were out of that game. And you were out of that game in a hurry as far as that's concerned. I think this sets up well for an Anaheim bounce back. I don't think they're out of this series by any stretch of the imagination. I think that was just, they do have to fix the special teams. At some point, special teams has got to improve. You're not winning this series with special teams the way it has gone for Anaheim in the first 3 games of this series. That simply has to improve. There's no question about that. Now, will it improve is the question, because you give Vegas credit. They've had a great penalty kill for a reason here in this series. But I like how this sets up for Anaheim. They got bashed in pretty good at home. They were out of that game after the first period. They ended up losing. What was it? I think it ended up 6-2, 5-2 the other night in game 2. But yeah, it was an ugly night. It was 6-2. It ended for Vegas. That Lukas Dostal was pulled, and rightfully so. I hated the second goal. Like the second goal from Braden McNabb, short-handed. That's got to be stopped. That was not good from Lukas Dostal. So I don't mind the Coach Q decision to take him out, give him some rest. That's another thing, too. Gives him some rest. Not only physical rest, mental rest for a game 4 that's now very, very important here for the Anaheim Ducks. There were people actually wondering if Dostal was going to, you got to have rocks in your head if you didn't think Dostal was going to start again tonight here in game 4. You're not putting Billy Husso in, I can tell you that. no doubt. But like I said, this is Anaheim's turn to respond. For a young group, I've been impressed with how they've responded to setbacks here in the playoffs. This is another team. We've talked about it, these teams that haven't lost 2 straight games in the playoffs. Montreal is one of those. Buffalo is one of those. Anaheim is one of those. This team has not lost 2 in a row here in the playoffs so far. They've been a team that's responded to setbacks. They've been a team that's responded to adversity. They've been a team that's responded to defeat. I think they responded to defeat again here tonight. I like this price. This is the value to me, win or lose, is Anaheim now. They're a slight home dog. Really, that was only their first home playoff loss the other night against Vegas after winning every home game against Edmonton. So like I said, I think when you look at this game, I like Anaheim here to bounce back. I'm not giving up on them. This is an important game. I will say this. Vegas is too good a hockey team, I think, to think that Anaheim's going to win 3 in a row against them. If they go down 3-1 tonight, I think they're done. I do. Now, look, teams have come back from 3-1 down before, but this is still a team where you have to give the veteran edge and the experience edge to the Vegas Golden Knights. I can't see a scenario where they lose 3 in a row in this series if they happen to go up 3-1 here tonight. So this is very important here for the Vegas Golden Knights. And yes, Mark Stone is a big deal. We don't know if he's going to play tonight. He didn't finish Game 3. He was injured in the first period. He tried to come back on. Went back onto the ice later and tried to test it out, give it a go, but ultimately he didn't play another shift after that. Tortorella's not been forthcoming with any updates here on Mark Stone. Not that he needs to, but it would be nice. But obviously, coaches are very zip lips at this time of year when it comes to injury updates, and I don't expect him to play. I'm seeing Jesse Granger and some of these Vegas people that report on the team, and people that just are Golden Knights fans on Twitter, wondering if Stone's ever going to play again. I mean, so how the hell is he playing tonight? Now, unless they are totally off, totally wrong on how the severity of his injury that he suffered the other night. But, that's obviously a huge loss. We've talked about how big a deal Mark Stone is. If he doesn't play tonight for Vegas, that's a big deal. And that's something that's going to be, I think help the Anaheim cause a little bit, because of everything he's done for this team. So I'm on Anaheim here plus 100, undefeated off a loss. And I like the quotes from Joe Quenneville. He's challenging the manhood a little bit of his team. We were a little immature. We were a little soft the other night. We were a little weak. Are you ready to go to war was his quote after Game 3 and that loss the other night. So he wants this young team to, and like I said on Twitter, they're babies, this Anaheim team. Other than Killorn, other than Kreider, Gudas, who's injured, they're a team that certainly I think they're still a very young group. They've got some vet, and John Carlson's a veteran now, and this is probably where having a John Carlson helps them a little bit. John Carlson's won a Stanley Cup in Washington. He's been through all kinds of playoff wars, steady the ship a little bit. I mean, we've seen enough of Anaheim's, ability to bounce back this year that, win or lose, I think they'll be a lot better tonight. They've had a great home environment at the Honda Center. And you know what I think is, I don't think this is going to play a role in them winning tonight, but it's got to make the Duck players feel good a little bit that they're getting their asses kicked last night, down, 5-2, and they ended up losing 6-2. Brett Howden got an empty net goal with under 2 minutes left. Most of the people in the building were still there. Usually at that time of the game, half the building's emptied out. The home fans have gone home when you're down by that kind of margin late in the third period. And it was still loud, so I actually give the Anaheim Ducks a little bit of credit there or the fans, I should say, a little bit of credit there. So yeah, I'm on Anaheim here, plus 100. We're not giving up on this team, and they got to have this one, period. End of story. You're not. I just think Vegas is too good, too experienced, too many veterans on this team. John Tortorella behind the bench. They deserve to get booed, Jonathan. They deserved it after the first period of Game 1. But I like that they stuck with it, though. That they were with them, and they were still. Once they started to get a few goals late in that game, they were cheering. They were still making noise, and most of them were still there. I mean, obviously there were a few people that left the building, but not as many as you would think for a game that was 5-1. There in the third period. So, like I said, we'll see. This is a great game. This is a very intriguing game. Does Anaheim have a response in them? Can Vegas take a stranglehold of this series, which at times they weren't able to do that against Utah. Utah hung around in that series, but Like I said, we'll take Anaheim here plus 100. I don't know what to do with the total. Very fortuitous to cash the over in Game 3. It was the first game of the series that went over the total. I did like the angle of we had 2 unders in Game 1 and Game 2 of the series. Game 3 went over. Maybe at 5.5, I'll bet the over live, but I'm not touching it at 6.5. As far as goal props, or I should say just overall props for this game, John Carlson, speaking of John Carlson for the Anaheim Ducks, he has gone over 1.5 shots on goal in 7 straight games entering tonight. So, like I said, it was definitely a situation where he's been shooting the puck quite a bit. 7 straight. Like I said, he's gone over 1.5 shots. Granlund over 1.5 shots in 3 straight. Jacob Trouba from the blue line for Anaheim over 1.5 shots in 3 straight games. Chris Kreider over 1.5 shots in 2 straight games. Alex Killorn over 1.5 shots in 2 straight games. Shea Theodore over 1.5 shots in 2 straight games. We talked about obviously how great Mitch Marner was, and it was a spectacular game. Hat trick, 4 points for him. Maybe you got to start looking at goal props for him because we think of him as an assist man, but he certainly had no problem finding the back of the net here so far in the playoffs. He's right there with a bunch of other players as far as leading points in the Stanley Cup playoffs so far. No question, he's been great for Vegas so far. Point props. We've got Kreider, 2 straight games with a point, and you're getting even money. Our guy Seneca. Beckett Seneca, 2 straight games with a point. Leo Carlson, 2 straight games with a point, although that's pretty juiced. Shea Theodore, continues to be very, very reasonable with his point prop. I mean, 4 of the last 5, 6 of the last 10, he's gotten a point. 2 straight in this series, he's gotten a point, Game 2 and Game 3, and you're laying a reasonable price for Shea Theodore to get a point. We now have back-to-back games with a goal, speaking of Seneca, back-to-back games with a goal for him. Entering tonight. I'm back on the Brett Howden Express, of course. You can't be shocked by that. This guy's been a goal-scoring machine for the Vegas Golden Knights. Plus, it's still a great price. I mean, this is mind-boggling to me. Prices are this good for Brett Howden to score for the Golden Knights. Plus 380, 390 here in this game tonight for the Vegas Golden Knights. So, like I said, very impressive stuff from Brett Howden. He's been an unsung hero, really, for the Vegas Golden Knights. And you would think if Mark Stone doesn't play tonight, more onus on him probably to make an impact offensively like he's been doing so far here in the playoffs. I'm seeing right now, like I said, we have any clarity whatsoever on Mark Stone. I could see him playing tonight. I could see him not playing tonight, being day-to-day. I could see a scenario, too, where because a lot of Mark Stone injuries, they end up being week-to-week. And they end up being longer term than you think. So I think there's all kinds of possibilities up in the air. We just have no clear idea of just how severe the injury is, and John Tortorella, and that's his right to do it, is not being forthcoming with the specifics. But at the end of the day, if I had to guess, I'm saying he's not playing tonight. I think it's not a long-term injury, but I do think it's going to be one of these deals where they go day to day from here and see if he's obviously good to go. It's unfortunate. It really is. And that's why if Stone's out, to Jonathan's point, you've got to be able to take a look at who's going to fill that spot. I would think Dorofeyev as well. That's the obvious choice from that third line. I don't think you're going to shake up Howden, Carlson, and Marner. That line was damn good. And Marner, all Marner could talk about post-game was how great it was to play with William Karlsson now that Karlsson's back from injury for the Vegas Golden Knights. So that Brett Howden, William Karlsson, Mitch Marner line, I can't see that line being altered. So if Stone's out, I think it's Dorofeyev's going to get plugged in with Eichel and our guy Close Shave Barbashev. Yep, I think Dorofeyev will be the one to go up on that top line here tonight for the Vegas Golden Knights. And then quickly, as far as blocked shots, Braden McNabb, 3 straight games over 2.5 blocked shots for the Vegas Golden Knights. Pavel Mintyukov for Anaheim and Noah Hannafin for Vegas have gone over 1.5 block shots in 2 straight games. And I do feel this is a Carter Hart over saves game. You got to throw everything, and including the kitchen sink, Adam. He's had a really good series so far. Even Game 2, the game that Vegas lost, he played well. Could have been worse for Vegas without Carter Hart in Game 2, the one game Anaheim won in this series. He was excellent in Game 1. He was very good in Game 3. He went over his saves prop in Game Game 3 the other night. And Anaheim has had a shots advantage repeatedly here in this series. They just have. So I like Carter Hart over saves. I think it's a good saves prop look because, like I said, the one thing we've seen in this series, even though it's 2-1 Vegas, we've seen Anaheim carry the shot volume. 34-21 it was for Anaheim in Game 1. It was 28-22 Anaheim in Game 2. It was 33-27 Anaheim in Game 3. So, like I said, even though Vegas has got the lead in this series, the shots on goal volume has been toward the Anaheim Ducks side of the equation. So Carter Hart over saves, at least in my mind, shapes up to be a good bet here in this game tonight. All right, shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. And like I said, definitely excited about these two games. They're big games, obviously. They're all big games, but Game 3 with a series tied and that atmosphere at the Bell Center is going to be fun. I think it's almost a game you've got to have. The only reason I don't say must win is because it's not an elimination game, but it kind of feels that way for Anaheim. It is a huge game for them tonight against Vegas at home. We'll see how both of these games play out. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button on the way out. Jonathan, players love Carter Hart, and at the same time, they say Adin Hill's been an excellent teammate. This is not a bad teammate issue. I think this is just Adin Hill struggled so much this year that, players get a little bit, lose some confidence when the goalie's been suspect and struggling a little bit. No question. I think that's a big part of it. It's not a matter of Adin Hill's a shitty teammate. Adin Hill's been a shitty goalie, not a shitty teammate, but a shitty goalie, for a decent chunk of the season. And when that happens, you don't play with as much confidence defensively. See, I think Vegas is playing with greater confidence defensively because Carter Hart's making some big saves for them right now. The kind of saves that throughout different parts of the season, Adin Hill was not delivering for them. Sometimes it's really that simple. And I think that's what we're seeing right now. All right, wizardsportspicks.com. Check it out. Daily premium picks, long-term subscriptions available. Check out the Beyond the Lines video I did today on the YouTube channel as well. And, of course, lots of content on the YouTube channel now. We're really ramping it up with live content and recorded content on the Wizard Sports Picks YouTube channel. So make sure you check that out. NHL, profitable season. NBA, profitable season. MLB going on as well. CFL starts next month. Can't wait for that. So check it out, wizardsportspicks.com. And, of course, patreon.com/Ice Guys, just $10 per month. Goalie charts, totals charts, daily betting card, sides, totals, player props posted each and every day on the Patreon page. So make sure you get on board. We have two Patreon-exclusive live betcasts this week coming up. The dates will be announced tomorrow on the Monday show. We'll announce the dates of these betcasts tomorrow. Normally, we surprise you, but this is the playoffs. We want people to show up. We want people to be in the YouTube chat, on the stream, tuning into these betcasts if they're Patreon members. So we're making an adjustment and saying we'll announce the betcasts as soon as we announce, we confirm the dates. We've definitely got the one date for sure confirmed for this week, one of the two betcasts, and I'm pretty sure where we're going with the other one, but we'll announce that tomorrow. The dates of the two Patreon exclusive live betcasts that are coming your way this week. So looking forward to that. And again, the only way to tune into those betcasts and join us for those betcasts is becoming a Patreon Ice Guys member. So go do that if you haven't done so already. $10 per month. Your membership goes a long way to supporting the show and keeping it going long term. $10 per month over at patreon.com/Ice Guys. And make sure you check out the Ice Guys store. Get your gear and merch at the Ice Guys store over at iceguys.myspreadshop.com. All right, bargain bin special of the night and best bets coming up right after we hear from our great Ice Guys sponsors.
Wizard Sports Picks, featuring the finest handicappers in the universe. Sharp insights, trusted picks, and relentless results. We strive to help you become consistent winners. This is Wizard Sports Picks.
Please for your
All right, bargain bin special of the night. And by the way, Alex sent me his card. We hope he's enjoying Mother's Day back home in Chicago with his mom on this very special day. But he sent me his card for today. He's got just a best bet and a bargain bin. That's it. Best bet and a bargain bin. And for bargain bin, we don't just have one Smith giving us a bargain bin special today. We have two Smiths giving us a bargain bin special. Alex's mom has chipped in with a bargain bin special selection for tonight. And she has cashed some of these before. I don't know the exact number, but Alex's mom has cashed bargain bin specials before on this show. So, like I said, keep in mind how this goes with Alex's mom's bargain bin specials. She's cashed some of them before. We'll see if she's got another winner in the repertoire here tonight. But we'll start with Alex's bargain bin first. And Alex is going to go with Philip Deneau for the Montreal Canadiens at plus 800 to find the back of the net in Game 3 tonight. So Phil Deneau for the Montreal Canadiens, plus 800 for Alex B. Smith and his bargain bin special of the night. And Alex's mom's bargain bin special of the night is also from that game, and it's also a member of the Montreal Canadiens. It is Kirby Dach for the Montreal Canadiens, plus 550, the best price out there right now for Kirby Dach for the Montreal Canadiens. So there you go, Alex B. Smith with Phil Deneau, plus 800, and Alex's mom going with Kirby Dach, plus 550 for bargain bin specials of the night. I've got two bargain bin specials, one from each game. And I've got a Montreal, even though I'm on Buffalo and I like Buffalo, I always say this, doesn't mean you can't like props for the other side. I'm on a Montreal Canadiens bargain bin special tonight as well, and I'm on Alex Newhook, plus 475. I think he's been one of the most dangerous forwards up front in this series through two games. The numbers don't lie. Expected goals generated, Alex Newhook. Obviously, he had the 2-goal game the last game, 3 goals in the last 3 games for Newhook going back to Game 7 against Tampa Bay. 4 shots on goal in each of the first 2 games of this series, plus 475 for Montreal. Alex Newhook, my bargain bin special from that game. My bargain bin special from Vegas, Anaheim. It's Brett Howden again. I got to do it. I mean, it's just been money. So again, this is another game. I like Anaheim in the game. It doesn't mean I can't bet Vegas props, and it doesn't mean I can't use a Golden Knight for bargain bin special. And I think it's just crazy not to use Brett Howden once again for bargain bin special of the night. You can get plus 380 for Brett Howden to find the back of the net. He got an empty netter in Game 3. He's been a scoring machine for the Golden Knights. So Brett Howden, plus 390. Vegas and Alex Newhook for Montreal in the early game. And that one was plus 475 for my 2 bargain bin specials. 2-0 yesterday with bargain bin special of the night on Saturday. Hopefully we can add to it here tonight. All right, best bets. We'll start with Alex's best bet. Anaheim, money line, plus 100 for Anaheim, for Alex B. Smith here in this one. Anaheim Ducks, plus 100 for Alex B. Smith with his best bet. And guess what? We're going to make it a dual best bet, because that's my best bet too. Quack, 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 quack. Anaheim Ducks, plus 100 here in this one against Vegas. I think they bounce back. They've responded all season. They're undefeated off a loss in the playoffs. Even with the Game 3 loss at home, a 3-1 home record in the playoffs. Mark Stone may be out. That's a big deal. That's a significant loss if he doesn't play for Vegas. I love the angle too. If Dostal got pulled in Game 3, he's had some ups and downs, but I think we get the best of Lukas Dostal. Don't forget how well he played in Game 2 when they won in Vegas. He will have a bounce-back night, in my opinion. He'll be much better. That's a wake-up call, getting pulled after the first period in Game 1. It's a wake-up call for the full team. I'm banking on Joel Quenneville here, who's been magnificent at getting a response from his team. Anaheim, plus 100 to even up the series for my best bet. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. Reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday, Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms. I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Sunday. Happy Mother's Day. Enjoy the games and good luck. We'll see you tomorrow on Monday, 2 p.m. Eastern for another edition of the Ice Guys.